Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching Pluribus episode 3, and my enjoyment for this show is continuing to be exactly where it was after the first 2 episodes. Now, mind you, I do think this episode was a little bit slower in pace, or at least for majority of its runtime, compared to the first episode and the second episode, but that doesn't mean I thought it was a bad episode. I actually found this one thoroughly entertaining on a ton of fronts, from the thing that happened with Sprouts to the thing that happened with Zoja at the end with the bomb and all of that stuff. I thought that was fascinating, and it opened so many doors in there. I'm going to run through some notes I have first, and then you're going to just hear me ramble, because I do have some notes that I took throughout the episode. The first thing is, going back to the beginning. In the very beginning of the episode, they were in a ice hotel in the Netherlands. It was Carol, and I think her name is Heather, who was her wife, or maybe girlfriend, I think wife. Anyway, they're there. I didn't know there was hotels that were ice like that. And they tried to pinpoint Carol narratively, like she's such a Debbie Downer for not wanting to be in the ice hotel room. I would never in my fucking life want to be in a ice hotel room. When I'm paying a lot of money for a hotel, I'm paying for a hotel where I'm comfortable. I'm not paying for a hotel where I'm in an ice bath the whole time. If I want an ice bath, I'll go get an ice bath. You know what I mean? I am fully on Carol's side, and I'm curious. The reason I bring this up is not so much for my sake of it. I'm more or less interested as to why they keep doing this. Like, it seems like they're narratively making the decision to keep showing us things that every normal person would agree is like the reasonable thing, right? Carol is a reasonable person, but they keep pinpointing her as this like very negative person. I know the whole slogan for the show is that like the most miserable person on earth has to stop everyone from happiness. And I just like, there has to be a reason that they're purposely almost showing her in these situations that make her seem reasonable, but the world around her makes her seem miserable for that. Does that make any sense? They keep doing this. And in every episode so far, everything Carol has said, every single element of it makes sense. I agree with her. Yeah, she's a little bit pessimistic-ish, but if you compare her to any human in this current world, like in our world right now, she's very normal. Like, yeah, she has her moments where she's a little bit moody, but we all do. Like, I'm kind of a bitch sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, we all have moments like that. So, like, she doesn't seem that bad, but obviously now with this mind virus thing, she is whatever. I'm rambling a little bit to bring up that I found that scene interesting because it seems like they're narratively making us agree with Carol, even though the show is narratively disagreeing with Carol. It's blowing my mind a little bit. I'm having a really hard time talking about that, but that's the first point I made. The second thing on my notes, on my handy dandy notes on my little handy dandy iPhone, second thing that I wanted to talk about was the one thing I was confused about that I don't think got addressed at all in this episode. In the end of episode 2, Carol stops Air Force One, and that's the cliffhanger we're left on, where she stops Air Force One for some sort of reason. And then this episode picks off, showing on a title card that it's 3 days, and I think it was like a few hours later. Meanwhile, the events of episode 2 were 2 days and like, it was midway through the hours. It was like 2 days and something. Wasn't she supposed to go to Vegas? I'm very confused about that. She stops the Air Force One, and then the episode ends. This episode picks up. She's back on the Wayfarer going back home to Albuquerque. I'm not understanding that. I don't think they addressed that. I'm going to have to watch this episode again. And I have been listening to the Pluribus podcast, because I used to listen to the Better Call Saul one and all of that. I think it's a fantastic podcast, which, by the way, if you guys haven't checked that out, it's on Apple Podcasts. It's probably on all the major ones as well, I'd have to assume. But I would check it out because Vince Gilligan's usually on it. The editor is one of the people that is like the host of it. And they always have people on talking about the episodes. It's a great way to like continue Pluribus if you're not actually if you don't want to wait a week for the next episode, watching this is a really good way to do it. But I just didn't understand that. And I wonder if they're going to address that at all, because they kind of pinpointed it as if she was going to be going to Vegas with them, but she didn't, which also confuses me a little bit, because in the trailers for the show, there were shots of them going to Vegas. So I wonder if they did, but the time span doesn't make that much sense, unless they went really quick and flew her home and they were going to save that. But it doesn't seem like they are. I don't know. So that was definitely something that threw me for a tizzy. I'm interested to see with the Wayfarer situation. I'm interested to see what's going to come of this Spanish guy that will not answer them, and if they are going to address it at all. It seems like narratively they took kind of like a different approach towards the end of this episode, but in the beginning of it, that was one of those things that really kind of interest me, because there is someone else like Carol out there who obviously, in terms of what we're seeing, seems miserable, but is definitely just as terrified and miserable about the idea of becoming one of these hive mind people like Carol is. So I find that pretty interesting. I don't know. This show, dude, this show is so fucking good. Like, I'm 3 episodes in. I'm literally, when I'm looking and watching it, you guys can't see, but I was sitting on this couch like this, just fixated on the TV, absolutely fixated. No show has me doing that at all. It takes a lot to do that. Dexter Resurrection did, so I applaud it for that, but like no other shows I watch do that, except for like Better Call Saul, this and a couple others, and we're only on the 3rd episode of the show. I'm really, really not trying to come at this from a place where I'm just like a Vince Gilligan simp. That's not what I'm trying to be. I'm just thoroughly enjoying this story. Rhea Seehorn has a part to do with that. The visual storytelling has a part to do with that. All of it. But this was just, even though I did find this episode a little bit slower than the first 2, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it was part of what they had to do, and I still loved every minute of it. I'm loving this show, guys. I really am. I'm absolutely loving the show, and I'm so glad they got greenlit for a season 2. I'm just checking my notes if you see me looking down. One of the things on the Wayfarer that I did think was cool that I wrote on my handy dandy little noteses here was the shot of Carol in that bathroom on the plane was another wonderful shot. They keep having incredible shots in this show. Oh, and another thing about that, because we talked about counting up. They started counting up. They keep counting up in these episodes. And I feel like it's like almost beneath this creative team to do that if they weren't building up to something. Just like how they were building down to something, I'm curious if they are going to be building up to an event, because why else would they continue to show the times? This show, these writers and these creatives are way too smart to visually show us the time change. When Carol's in a different outfit and we see her on the TV, which I'm bringing up a scene where they cut to after a time, like a timestamp of where they were at. They cut to her. It was clearly the 4th day. Like, these writers are too creative. They don't need to show that for us to understand that it's a different day. I feel like they have to be doing that for another reason. That would be the only thing that would make sense to me. Now, as far as the rest, I'm done looking at my phone. There was a lot of funny moments in this episode. There was a lot of really good things that I thought were hilarious, like when Carol picks up the phone and the caller ID says, "It's us, Carol." I thought that was hilarious. Or when she obviously goes to the grocery store, it's empty, and then she has them all come and fill up this Sprouts, and it takes them only like 15 minutes to do it, and then they're walking out and they're talking, like, and each of them is talking in a line. I thought that was hilarious. Like, they keep doing things like that in the show that are just so funny that make it genuinely entertaining. Now, the big thing that I've saved kind of for last is what happened with Zoja at the end of this episode. I wonder where they're going with the two of them, because you could tell Carol... okay, so Zoja's obviously Carol's, like, surrogate almost, or not surrogate. That's not the word I'm looking for. What the fuck? That's not the word I'm looking for. Zoja is like Carol's like guide through this journey. She's like her like AA partner, even though that's not what it is. But she's essentially like that, and you could tell that Carol is starting to really warm up to her. Obviously, at the end we see her waiting at the hospital for her. So like there is that. You know, they're kind of building something there. They're probably building or at least teeter-tottering on the line of some sort of relationship where Zoja's going to be this kind of like surrogate, I guess is the right word, for Heather. I'm calling her Heather because I think that's her name, who was her predeceased wife, or predeceased. Guys, I'm really fucking bad with my words. Really bad. Anyway, I don't know what I'm trying. The point I'm trying to make is Zoja is I think they're gonna set her up as the love interest. I know they said and they tried to like pinpoint it as that was the case in the beginning because they dressed up Zoja like she was the character from her book Waikaro, but still. Like, I feel like they're doing something there because she's starting to really warm up to her. And we got blue-balled again in this episode because I want explanations as to what this whole thing is. And they keep like teeter-tottering around the question of what does it feel like. I'm glad that we got Carol actually being the one to basically explain what it feels like to Zoja. And then Zoja finishes her sentence as if to insinuate that that is exactly what it feels like. But I want to hear them talking about it, just like how all of the other people who weren't affected by this asked their loved ones and their AA sponsor people, even though they're not AA sponsor people. You know what I mean? They asked them about it. I want to know what that feels like. This is such a cool premise. They're like blue-balling us of that story, and I'm saying that in a good way. I'm not saying that as a complaint. I'm saying that as I like this. This is like one of those things that's drawing me further into the story because I want to continue to learn more, but they're giving us answers in ways that are very non-conventional. And I love that. And I love how at the end they give her a grenade, and it was an active grenade, so it went off. Zoja got affected by this, and when she did, she was bleeding out, but she was smiling. She's like, "It's okay, Carol, they're on their way." And she's like literally dying. They go to the hospital. Obviously, Zoja's okay. We knew she's kind of like a main character, so obviously she was going to be okay. But I love how at the end of it, after that, we have this guy in the DHL outfit coming and talking to Carol and basically saying, "Oh, we'll give you a nuclear weapon if you want." But he's like so hesitant to say that, and he's like communicating in his head to talk about that. It's like little details like that that make this show so good. I could go on forever about this episode. I really can. I genuinely loved it, and I'm loving it again. Yes, again, a little bit slower than the first two. I don't find that as a bad thing. I actually like slower stories. I enjoyed this one a lot, and I gotta tell you, this is 3 for 3 so far. I think there's 9 episodes in this season. I'm pretty sure, but this is 3 for 3, so we're a third of the way through if it is 9 episodes, and this is a banger. I can't wait to see where the show goes, and I can't wait to see what general audiences think of this. Obviously, people who have seen Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, they're going to be a little bit more biased towards it because anything Vince Gilligan touches is gold. Like I said, I'm trying not to think that way, but it's hard not to if you're a freak of those shows. It really is hard not to. I'm just being honest. It is. I'm more interested to know what wider audiences think about this show. Like, for instance, my girlfriend, who's never seen Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, or at least in its entirety, if I showed her this, I'm curious how she'd react to it. I'm curious how the general population of people who haven't seen those shows are going to react to this. If it's going to be something that's monumental, like a Severance or like a Squid Game at the time, but Squid Game was kind of a different sort of like TikTok boom sort of thing. I don't know how to describe that. I'm really interested how this is going to be received at large because so far, 3 for 3, this is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I'm just going to say it. It's really good. The premise is strong. I've seen people in my comments saying that the premise in and of itself is like it's been done before and it's not original and it's like not sticking with that or not like, not something that they're resonating with. I don't see it. That's okay. But I'm curious if you are in that category, what about it isn't working for you? Is it the premise? Is it that it is unoriginal? I don't think it's unoriginal. I think this is extremely original, at least in the way it's being done. Maybe the idea of this apocalyptic hive mind has been done. Yes, it has. Like, it has been done. But I've never heard of or seen anything that fits this way, where it's apocalyptic in the terms that there's that apocalypse element. So in the beginning, it's scary and it's these things that take over humanity. But I've never seen it spun in a good way, where it's almost like like a heaven on earth. And Carol's the only one that sees it as a bad thing. I don't know. I'm really interested to hear how people perceive this episode. I mean, this show in general. Very curious of that. But again, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you feel the same way? Are you somewhere in the middle? Let me know where you stand. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Special shout out to our brand new members. Seriously, it helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. But if you'd like to become a brand new member, the link to do so is right after the subscribe button. It will change to a join button. You could also find it linked in the description right under the like button.